The scent of damp earth and jasmine hung heavy in the pre-dawn air of the Chiang Mai. Soy! Inside her old wooden house, raised on sturdy stilts against the rains, Mali moved with the quiet precision of 72 years lived within these walls. Her small frame, clad in a simple indigo Soa Morhom blouse and patterned fa sin, seemed almost swallowed by the shadows, yet her movements were deliberate. She lit incense before the small shrine in the corner, the faces of departed loved ones serene in their faded photographs. Her husband, Somchai, smiled quietly from his frame, his eyes kind. 10 years gone, but his presence was a familiar ache, a quiet hum beneath the surface of her days. Another day, Kun, she murmured, her voice raspy with sleep and disuse. She bowed her head, the fragrant smoke curling around her. The floorboards creaked companionably underfoot as she moved towards the small kitchen area. Sunlight, still weak, filtered through the wooden shutters, striping the floor. It caught the dust motes dancing in the air and highlighted the slight tremor in her hand as she reached for the kettle. Her knee gave a familiar sharp twinge as she bent, a reminder of a fall years ago, a stubborn companion that grew louder with each passing season. She straightened slowly, biting back a grimace. Pride stiffened her spine. She'd managed this house, this life, alone for a decade. She would continue. Breakfast was simple, leftover rice soup reheated until steaming. She ate standing by the window, looking out onto the narrow lane where neighbors were beginning to stir. The rhythmic clang of a distant temple gong calling the monks to their duties drifted on the air. Loneliness wasn't a sharp pain, more a dull weight she carried, heaviest in these quiet morning hours before the world outside fully woke. Finishing her soup, she rinsed the bowl, her movements economical. Time to go to the Cad, the local market. It was a ritual, a connection to the life she'd known, even though her own fruit stall was long closed, passed on to a younger cousin. Seeing the familiar bustle, smelling the pungent mix of spices, grilled meats and ripe mangoes, it anchored her. She carefully descended the steep wooden stairs outside her house. The third step down always felt a little loose underfoot. She'd meant to ask someone about it, but the thought of imposing, of admitting a need, always made her hesitate. That ingrained reluctance to trouble others, a feeling as familiar as the scent of rain on hot pavement. She gripped the worn railing tighter, her knuckles white. Reaching the packed earth below, she took a steadying breath and set off down the soy, her worn sandals slapping softly against the ground. The Cadmore was already a vibrant chaos of colour, sound and smell. Vendors called out greetings, their voices blending with the sizzle of frying snacks and the chatter of shoppers. Mali nodded politely to familiar faces, exchanging brief pleasantries. She moved slowly, carefully navigating the crowded aisles, her basket bumping gently against her leg. She bought fragrant jasmine rice, some crisp morning glory, chilies and limes. Enough for a few days. As she turned from a stall laden with gleaming eggplants, the world suddenly tilted. The noise of the market seemed to rush away, replaced by a buzzing in her ears. Spots danced before her eyes. Her hand flew out seeking purchase, but found only air. Her basket slipped from her grasp, scattering limes and chilies across the dusty ground. "May Mali, are you all right?" Strong hands gripped her arms, steadying her just as her knees buckled. It was Nong, the woman who sold sweet sticky rice nearby. Concern etched deep lines around her eyes. "You look pale. Sit down. Sit down here." Mali allowed herself to be guided to a low plastic stool, her heart hammering against her ribs. The dizziness slowly receded, leaving behind a residue of fear and sharp embarrassment. Neighbors gathered, voices murmuring concern. Someone pressed a small bottle of smelling salts under her nose. The sharp ammoniac scent made her gasp. "I'm fine, just a little tired," Mali insisted, waving away the fuss, her voice thinner than she intended. She hated this feeling. Weak, vulnerable, the center of unwanted attention. She gathered her spilled groceries with trembling hands, ignoring Nong's protests to let her help. Pride, sharp and brittle, forced her upright. "Thank you, Nong. Really, I am fine." She offered a shaky smile, nodded curtly to the others, and retreated from the market as quickly as her dignity and unsteady legs would allow, the weight of concerned eyes following her. Back in the sanctuary of her house, the silence felt accusing. She sank onto her sitting mat, the encounter replaying in her mind. That sudden wave of faintness, It wasn't the first time, though never this severe. She pushed the worry away. It was nothing. Lack of sleep, perhaps, or the heat. But a seed of unease had been planted. Later that afternoon, the shrill ring of her old mobile phone startled her. It was Pim, her daughter, calling from Bangkok. Mali rarely initiated calls, conscious of Pim's busy life, her important job in the glittering capital. "Mama? Sawasdika, how are you?" Pim's voice, usually brisk and efficient, held an edge of anxiety. "Nong called me. She said you nearly fainted at the market today. What happened? Are you eating properly? Are you hurt?" Mali bristled instantly at the interrogation, the fuss. "I'm perfectly fine, Pim. Nong exaggerates. It was just warm, and I stood up too quickly." The familiar dynamic asserted itself, Pim worrying from afar, Mali minimizing, resisting the implication that she couldn't manage. "Mama, you need to be careful. Maybe you shouldn't be going out alone so much." "I've been thinking." Pim hesitated. "I'm coming up to Chiang Mai next weekend. We need to talk." Mali's heart sank. A visit meant scrutiny, suggestions, pressure. It meant confronting the things she preferred to ignore. "There's nothing to talk about," she said stiffly. "But if you want to visit, of course, you are welcome." The line went quiet for a moment before Pim sighed, a sound heavy with frustration and love. "Okay, Mama. I'll see you Saturday." The week crawled by under a cloud of apprehension. Mali went about her routines, but the near fall had shaken her more than she admitted. The loose step seemed looser, the shadows in the hallway deeper. Pim arrived on Saturday morning, bringing the scent of Bangkok, exhaust fumes and expensive perfume clinging to her smart city clothes. She hugged Mali tightly, her eyes scanning the familiar room, already noting the dim lighting, the clutter near the outdoor kitchen entrance. The visit unfolded predictably. Pim, fueled by love and anxiety, saw only risks. "Mama, this rug is a tripping hazard, and these stairs are so dark at night. Why don't you let me hire someone to help you clean? Or maybe..." Pim trailed off, then plunged ahead. "Maybe it's time to think about selling this place. You could come live with me in Bangkok. I have a spare room." Mali stiffened, her hand tightening on her teacup. "Sell my home? This house my father built, where your father and I lived? Never." The idea was absurd, insulting. "And live in Bangkok, trapped in your noisy city? I belong here, Pim. But Mama, I worry about you. What if something happens and no one is here?" Pim's voice rose, frustration colouring her tone. "You're not getting any younger. And you think reminding me of that helps?" Mali retorted, the familiar wall of pride rising between them. "I have managed perfectly well for 10 years. I don't need you rearranging my life." The argument simmered, unspoken resentments bubbling beneath the surface. Pim saw neglect where Mali saw comfortable familiarity. Mali felt criticised where Pim intended care. By the time Pim left on Sunday evening, the air between them was thick with unresolved tension. Pim hugged her mother tightly at the door, tears welling in her eyes. "Please, Mama, just think about it. For me." Mali watched her daughter's taxi disappear down the soi, a familiar mix of love, irritation, and guilt churning within her. She knew Pim meant well, but her suggestions felt like an attack on her independence, her very identity. Yet, alone again in the quiet house, the fear lingered. What if something happened? A few days later, a young woman appeared at her gate. She wore the neat blue uniform of the Orsaw Moor, the village health volunteers. She was bright-eyed and smiling, her greeting respectful. "Mali, Sawasdika. My name is Aum. Your daughter Kun Pim asked our office if someone could just check in. May I come in for a moment?" Mali hesitated. Pim had gone behind her back. Interference. But the young woman's smile was open, her manner gentle. Refusing seemed churlish. Krengjai worked both ways. One shouldn't make others feel awkward either, she reasoned silently. "Come in, Aum," she said, forcing a polite smile. Aum stepped inside, her eyes taking in the room quickly but discreetly. She didn't comment on the clutter or the dimness. Instead, she sat respectfully on the floor mat Mali indicated and chatted easily about the weather, the upcoming temple festival, and neighbourhood news. She offered Mali a colourful pamphlet about healthy eating for seniors, filled with pictures of local fruits and vegetables. "Just some information from the health office," she said casually. Before leaving, she asked, "Would it be all right if I checked your blood pressure, Mali? It only takes a minute." Mali reluctantly agreed. Aum was efficient and gentle, wrapping the cuff around her arm, pumping it up, listening intently. "A little high today, May," she said softly, noting the reading in a small notebook. "Nothing to worry too much about, but good to keep an eye on. Maybe try a little less salt?" She didn't push, didn't lecture. She simply offered information. When she left, Molly felt less invaded than she'd expected, just observed. Aum started visiting regularly, usually once a week. Her visits were brief, never intrusive. She'd check Mally's blood pressure, chat for a few minutes, sometimes leave another leaflet, this one about simple exercises, another about local support services. She mentioned activities at the nearby Watt, a gentle exercise group for elders on Tuesday mornings, a craft circle on Thursdays where women made items to sell for merit-making. "Many ladies from the neighbourhood go," Aum remarked lightly. "They seem to enjoy the company." Molly always politely declined any direct suggestion to join, murmuring about being busy or tired. But she kept the leaflets. One evening, reaching for her reading glasses on a low table, she misjudged the distance in the dim light filtering from the single overhead bulb. Her hand knocked over a small stack of books, sending them clattering to the floor. As she bent to pick them up, a wave of dizziness, less intense than at the market but still unsettling, washed over her. She steadied herself against the wall, her breath catching. This time, no one had seen. The fear felt colder, sharper, precisely because it was unwitnessed. What if she had fallen properly? How long would it have been before someone found her? Pim's worried face flashed in her mind. Later that week, hidden in her drawer, Molly found the home safety checklist Aum had left. Illustrated with simple drawings, it pointed out common hazards: poor lighting, loose rugs, cluttered walkways, lack of grab bars in the bathroom. She scoffed initially. Her house was fine. But the image of the scattered books, the memory of the dizzy spell, lingered. She found herself looking at the worn woven mat near the kitchen entrance with new eyes. It did tend to bunch up, and the path to the outdoor washing area was rather cluttered with old pots and unused tools. Thursday morning arrived, clear and bright. Molly found herself restless. The silence of the house pressed in. On impulse, driven by a feeling she couldn't quite name. Loneliness, curiosity, a flicker of defiance against her own inertia, she put on a clean blouse and walked the short distance to the Watt. The temple grounds were peaceful, shaded by ancient Bodhi trees. She could hear the low murmur of chanting from the main hall. Following the sounds of quiet chatter, she found the craft group gathered in an open-sided pavilion. A dozen or so women, mostly around her age, sat on mats, weaving colourful threads into small ornaments or folding intricate lotus flowers from paper. Some chatted quietly, others worked in companionable silence. Molly hovered at the edge, feeling awkward, an outsider. One of the women looked up and smiled, patting the mat beside her. "Come join us, Molly." It was Somjit, a neighbour she knew vaguely. Hesitantly, Molly sat down. Someone offered her materials to make simple paper lotuses. Her fingers, stiff at first, slowly remembered old skills. The repetitive motion was calming. She didn't talk much, content to listen to the gentle ebb and flow of conversation around her. She watched the other women. Some moved stiffly, one used a walking stick propped beside her, another wore thick glasses, yet they were here, engaged, connected. There was no shame in their aids, only adaptation. A quiet sense of belonging, fragile but real, began to settle over her. When the session ended, she felt lighter than she had in weeks. The following day, Molly took the woven mat from the kitchen entrance and rolled it up, storing it away. It felt like a small victory. A few days later, she went to the market and bought a bright, energy-saving LED bulb to replace the dim one in the main room. The difference was startling. The room felt cleaner, safer. When Aum visited next, she noticed immediately. "Oh, Molly, it's so much brighter in here," she exclaimed with genuine pleasure. Molly felt a flush of pride. The old bulb was finished, she said nonchalantly, but Aum's approving smile warmed her. Slowly, cautiously, Molly began to engage more. She started attending the craft group regularly. She asked Aum about the gentle exercise class, though she wasn't quite ready to join yet. She even allowed Aum to help her decipher the tiny print on a medicine bottle. They developed a quiet rapport built on mutual respect. Aum never pushed, only offered possibilities, support, information about resources like potential discounts on medical checkups for seniors or how to contact the district office about minor home repair assistance grants. Malé listened, absorbing the information, filing it away. She was still May Malley, independent and proud, but the rigid walls she'd built around herself were starting to soften, allowing slivers of light and help to filter through. She even started asking Aum about things she saw other seniors using, like sturdy four-pronged walking canes. Pym called to say she was coming for another weekend visit. This time, Malé felt a flicker of anticipation rather than dread. She spent Friday tidying the house, not out of fear of criticism, but with a quiet sense of wanting to share the small changes she'd made. Pym arrived looking tired but less tense than before. Malé greeted her warmly, offering iced Rosella tea. As they sat talking, Pym's eyes scanned the room. She noticed the missing rug immediately, the brighter light. Before she could comment, Malé spoke, her voice calm. "I moved that old rug, Pym. Aum, the health volunteer you sent. She left a checklist. It made sense. It was always bunching up." She gestured towards the brighter bulb overhead. "And I changed the light. Much better, isn't it?" Pym stared, surprised into silence. This calm explanation, this proactive step, was completely unexpected. The usual defensiveness was gone. "Yes, Mama," she said softly, relief washing over her. "It looks much safer." Malé then mentioned, almost casually, "I've been going to the craft group at the Watt on Thursdays. Somjit and the others are there. We make things for the temple fairs." She shared a simple, positive detail about learning a new weaving technique. Pym listened, really listened this time, sensing the shift in her mother. The usual arguments, the cycle of worry and resistance, didn't materialize. A space opened up between them, filled with a quiet understanding. Then came the turning point. Malé picked up a small catalogue Aum had left on an earlier visit, filled with assistive devices. She opened it to a page showing bathroom grab bars. "Aum left this," she said, her gaze steady as she met Pym's eyes. "I think one of these would be good for the step outside the bathroom. The tile gets slippery." She paused, took a breath, and made the request that signified a profound internal shift. "When you go back to Bangkok, could you help me order this one? It looks sturdy." She tapped the picture. It wasn't a surrender. It was an assertion of need, framed within her own agency. She had identified the problem, found a solution, and was now requesting specific, manageable help. It was acceptance on her own terms. Pym's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of relief and connection. "Of course, Mama," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Of course, I'll help you order it." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the unspoken understanding passing between them more potent than any words. The wall had not crumbled, but Malé had opened a gate. Months passed. The grab bar, sturdy and gleaming, was installed beside the bathroom. The house felt subtly different, not radically changed, but safer, calmer. Malé moved through her days with a renewed sense of confidence. The loose step on the main stairs had been fixed, thanks to a referral from Aum to a local handyman who offered fair prices to seniors. Malé had paid him herself, using money she'd carefully saved, reinforcing her sense of control. She was now a regular at both the craft circle and the gentle exercise group at the Watt. She wasn't the most talkative member, but her quiet presence was accepted, welcomed. She enjoyed the easy companionship, the shared rhythm of stretching or weaving, the feeling of being part of something beyond the four walls of her house. Sometimes she found herself offering a quiet word of encouragement to a newcomer, remembering her own initial hesitation. Her weekly chats with Aum continued, evolving into a comfortable friendship. Malé still cherished her independence, but she no longer saw accepting help as a weakness. She understood it now as a tool, a way to maintain her independence, not relinquish it. She learned about nutrition, about managing her blood pressure through diet and gentle movement, about navigating the local healthcare system for routine checkups. Her video calls with Pym were different too. The tension was gone, replaced by easier conversation. They shared news, Pym's work projects, Malé's temple activities, neighborhood gossip. Pym learned to offer support rather than solutions, asking, "How can I help, Mama?" instead of telling her what to do. Malé learned to articulate her needs simply, without shame. One cool Chiang Mai evening, Malé sat on her porch, a cup of fragrant